What's up, guys? We are back with another review, taking a look at something a little bit new for me because if I remember correctly, I don't think I've ever even seen any of this line in person, let alone owned any. So we're taking a look at a LooseCollector Executive Replicas figure today. This is the new red Sonja, and this one in particular I'm really excited about because, you know, she'd make a really solid pairing for Mezco Conan. Now, she comes in a pretty standard window box style packaging. You've got her there in the window. You've got comic artwork that's on the front and both spines, and then you've got some really classic style artwork, very classic fantasy inspired artwork on the back with a rundown of what she comes with as well as a bio for exactly who she is. So yeah, let's do it. Let's pull her out and take a look. And here we go, out of the package, our Executive Replicas LooseCollector Red Sonja figure. Again, my first entry into this line, so I've not messed with any of the other stuff. I am looking forward to some of these stuff coming out in the future, but up until now, this is an unknown to me. At first glance, I'm pretty happy with this. There's a lot of potential for this line, giving us kind of like deeper cut characters. I mean, Red Sonja is not an unknown character or anything, obviously, but I don't expect to get her from a lot of other companies. So this is definitely more of a niche thing when it comes to what we're getting here. Construction on this figure is fairly normal too. I'm not too surprised with what I'm seeing, but I'm happy with what we've got. So let's see how she moves, see all that good stuff. We've got a head the head is of course going to be kind of locked down, like right out of the gate. She can't really look up because she has this big old mane of hair. That's quite obvious. You've got tilt side to side. You can look down really, really, really good. And then you've got rotation. It's not full rotation, but it also seems like it's sufficient. She can look off to both sides just fine. Arms go out at the shoulder. They rotate. You've got a nicely hidden bicep swivel there. It's at those bangles. We've got single jointed, but way better than 90 degrees, so I'm okay with that. And then you've got rotation. You've got hinges at the wrist. There are vertical and lateral hinges depending on what kind of hands you use. At the torso, we've got a nice diaphragm cut. She goes side to side, backwards really good, and forward pretty decently. Legs kick out about yay far. They kick forward all the way. Not really anything backwards. You've got your thigh twists that are also hidden pretty well at those, I'm not sure what the hell you would call these because they sure aren't thigh pads, but they are, I don't know, armor of some kind, right? I don't know what they're protecting. And then you've got a double jointed knee. And then down at these ankles, you've got rocker and you've got hinges. The only thing she's sort of missing in some ways is a boot cut, but there's no place to put it that wouldn't be like an ugly cut. So I'm okay with her not necessarily having it because we still have the thigh swivel. So, you know, in many ways, she's pretty standard, you know, Marvel Legends, Mezco kind of looking figure in many ways. I don't really have any issues with how she moves. Everything seems pretty tight, and range overall, especially at the diaphragm cut, is really nice. Now, as far as the overall look and feel, this figure is, well, it's definitely a little bit different from what I would take a look at. There aren't too many mostly naked action figures on my shelf when it comes to women, and Red Sonja is up there for, you know, the type of fantasy woman that is covering none of her vital areas depending on your point of view, and she's essentially naked. She's got a little bit of a scale mail bikini going on, but she's essentially naked. This is the look, though. I mean, this is definitely the look for her at this point, and I think they did a pretty solid job here. Again, this is new territory for me, so I'm not really familiar with the build or what they offer or what you should expect. I've seen some of the figures, you know, in pictures, but I've never actually handled one, and I'm pretty happy with the way this feels. I am very curious to see how she's going to stack up to other lines because, I mean, obviously I want to put her with Mezco Conan, but I think she looks pretty good. There's different textures, different finishes on this figure. There's a decent amount of paint. I'm not going to say that there's tons of it, but there's a decent amount. So all of her leather garments, like the gloves and then the boots, well, let's say gloves and boots in particular, they do have a little bit of a wash over top of that brown. There is a nice metallic sheen on all of the silver. So specifically on like the bra, and then whatever the necklacey thing is up top has a nice shine to it. The crotch scale mail armor, and then the little butt flap back here also. So you've got some cheeks poking out back here also. So this is definitely going to be one of those figures, you know, that your mom might question why you've got it on your shelf. But she does look really good. Paint is clean. I don't have any issues with bleeding or any fuzzy lines like that. I think proportionally she looks good also. She's not like super buff, which I think is okay. Like, she's not really necessarily meant to be like some roided out woman. She does have some muscle tone, but she's not super huge. And then we've got a pretty solid head sculpt up here too. I will say, and I'll kind of mention it again when we get to accessories, obviously, I wish she had more than one expression. I'm sure there's a cost situation going on between the figures that she came out with, but I would have loved something a little bit more expressive. This is a good face, though. The paint is really clean and crisp. The eyes are good. The lips are super bright, and they've got kind of a shine to them, so it looks like lipstick. Hair also looks good. It's a static / dynamic thing. You know, it's one of those where it's billowing in the wind, but it only goes in one direction. And it does have that sort of, you know, deep red color. And then she's also got some wash in there also, just to bring it out and make it look a little darker, give it some shadow, some depth. But this is a pretty solid looking figure. It is definitely catering to a certain market when it comes to people that want, you know, scantily clad fantasy women. But in that regard, I do think she hits the mark pretty well. Now, as far as size comparisons go, I'm going to start with fantasy stuff, obviously. So we've got a Mythic Legions here on the left, a 1.0 figure. And then we've got the Mezco Conan here on the right. And this works pretty good. I think that looks good. This works okay. I think she looks taller than she is on camera. She looks a little taller to me in person. You can fudge it. I think it's going to be fine to put them together. You know, I will say that with the caveat of the fact that the literature version of Conan, which is where Mezco comes from, is not a humongous guy. He's not massive. He's not this mountain of a man. He's kind of a normal guy. He wasn't super tall. So this is going to be okay. It still looks a little off to me putting them together, but I'm not going to have them together on a shelf, that's for sure. And then let's do some other lines. So let's do a Figuarts. Here is the Saiyan Raised on Earth Goku. Let's take Conan aside. And here is a Marvel Legends. Here's Forge, so a standard male body currently. And she's going to go really well with 112 stuff in general. Let's pull Goku aside, and here is a Super 7 figure. Here's Tommy. And then let's pull Forge aside, and let's do one more. Let's do a NECA Turtle. Here's a Toon Turtle. There is Leo. So she's going to be relatively fine with just about anything that's in the 6-7-ish inch range. I still think that maybe she's not the best pairing with Mezco Conan, but it is going to work just fine. And then she looks pretty good with Legends. She looks pretty decent with this Super 7 Power Ranger also. And then as far as some accessories goes, we get a handful of things with Sonja. Like I mentioned, we don't get any extra faces or any extra heads. I really would have liked to have seen a much angrier expression with her. I feel like, if anything, I find that to be kind of lacking here. She does come with some extra hands, so you get 2 extra sets. She's got fists on her in the box. You get a set of vertically hinged gripping hands. Of course, the set is 2. And then you get a set of laterally hinged, you know, sort of style posy gesturing hands. So you get 4 extra hands to complement the fists. We get this big monster axe, which I really like. I really like all the weapons she comes with. So you get this big axe that has like a leather strap wrapped around it, sort of a gunmetal color for the blade, and then it's got like this spiked base down at the bottom. So that's really cool. It's also pretty big. It's, you know, 3/4 of her height. We get a set of really gnarly looking curved daggers that have a ton of wash on them. They're more of that gunmetal color, but then they're all dirtied up. They're pitted and worn, and then more of those leather wraps for the handles. And then we lastly get her sword, which is not all dirty and gunked up. You've got a nice shiny silver blade, black handle, and gold hilt and pommel down there. It looks good. I'm happy with this. It's a really nice, it's a broad sword, and this definitely fits her. It's probably going to be what I use the majority of the time. So she comes with a pretty solid array of accessories. I like everything that we have here. I just was really, really interested in getting a more expressive face with her. While I do like this head sculpt, her screaming is probably what I think of most when it comes to Red Sonja. So yeah, overall, this is a pretty solid figure. Again, it's new to me, but I like what I'm seeing here. She moves well, she looks good, she's proportioned nicely, paint is solid, sculpt is good. She comes with some really solid accessories. I'll say it again for the last time, I do wish she had an extra head sculpt, but I am happy with the complete package here. My only real criticism for this particular figure is probably going to come down to the fact that it is a really expensive piece. It is a very, very niche product. I can't imagine the production run on these is super huge. So I'm sure that the cost is related to just how small the market is for this thing. It's still worth mentioning she is going to be a little pricey, but she's a pretty cool figure. And if you're interested in Red Sonja, this is your chance to grab one. So that's going to do it for this look at the Executive Replicas LooseCollector Red Sonja. Let me know what you guys think. Feel free to like, comment, subscribe, and share. And until next time.